This episode we're going off the cuff and other stuff. Hello and welcome. I'm Akram Burith, and you're watching Akram's Ideas, bringing creative and crazy ideas to life. If you've been watching Akram's Ideas for a while, you'll know that I have been extremely busy because I have not had a video uploaded for the last 3 weeks now. Gosh, it feels like forever. So I had a few minutes today that I thought I'd record what I'm calling off the cuff and other stuff. To see more episodes like this, be sure to click the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to get notified of new videos. Just a quick little chat about what I've been up to, what I've got planned, and where have I been. So first off, before I even get into anything, let me just give a big shout out to my new subscribers. Yes, we're inching away, getting closer every day to that 1,000 subscriber mark. So I'm hoping to reach that in the next few weeks, in the next few months, if not a little bit sooner. But I do appreciate you guys for subscribing. Again, I do apologize for not having a video the last few weeks, but I'm going to get into all the reasons why. And but I do have a slew. I've got like, I think over 100 videos now on the YouTube channel. So if you've missed older videos, feel free to go back and check them. And if you want more information or anything, feel free to leave comments in the videos. You know, you can always find me at Akram's Ideas on Instagram or on Facebook, so I'm out there. I'll try to respond as soon as I can. But again, big shout out to all my subscribers. So with that said, where have I been? What have I been up to? And why haven't I posted? So let's see. The last video that I posted was the day and night challenge, and that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that dress, and I actually had a whole bunch more stuff planned that didn't happen after that. While I was actually making that reversible jacket, I had come down with a little bit of a cold. This was late February, and winter in Oklahoma is really weird because you will get days that are like 32 degrees, if not colder, and then you'll get days that are like 57 and close to 60. And that fluctuation of weather and temperature is not good for your health. Let's just put it that way. It like, you go outside and you're like, oh, it's warm, it's springtime, I don't need a jacket. And then suddenly the very next day, it's icing. And that's kind of what happened at the end of February, is that it had gotten really nice at the end of February. The groundhog saw its shadow, so early spring, right? And then that first weekend in March, we had a snowstorm. I kid you not. We had about 2 inches of snow, but most of it was ice, and so basically everything was shut down for a day or two. School was shut down, and then I got really sick. I had been kind of struggling with staying healthy before that, but then it all came out at that point. I was sick. So I recovering from a cold. I had done a lot of winter sewing already, and I was planning on actually filming a sort of lookbook or sew and tell of my winter makes, including this lovely toaster sweater that I love. I've got like 3 toaster sweaters that I made over the winter break. I made the Bunsen top from Itch to Stitch. I made some Freya tops. I made a whole bunch of stuff over winter that I hadn't had a chance to film, and I'd gotten sick, so I didn't get a chance to do the filming of the winter makes. So that kind of put me behind track. At the same time, I had at work's been crazy. So let's just talk about work for a moment, okay? So many of you, if you follow Akram's Ideas, you know that I work for the University of Tulsa and I teach video game design. So if you follow my Instagram stories, I may have mentioned this a couple of times, but basically I am not only teaching game design, I'm also the coordinator of our Computer Simulation and Gaming Conference, which means I'm organizing this event that takes place on April 12th and April 13th. So it's a 2-day conference, and it is a massive undertaking. And basically March through April, I am just swamped with getting stuff ready for this event. I've got to call exhibitors, schedule volunteers, set up plans for how everything's going to be laid out, coordinate speakers, and that was what a big bulk of what I was doing in early March. In fact, I was actually editing videos for the conference website, doing a whole bunch of like how to enter the contest, and I've got another video that I'm working on about how to make your pitch for the event and all this other stuff. So that was taking up a lot of my time. It's still taking up a lot of my time. I've got to make a bunch of phone calls today about the event. It is a free event, so if you are interested, if you're somewhere in Tulsa on April 12th and 13th, or know somebody who would be interested, the Computer Simulation and Gaming Conference will be at the University of Tulsa. So you can go to the website if you're interested. We also have a Facebook page, a Twitter, and an Instagram, and everywhere it's CSGCONF, and you can find us out on the interwebs. So yeah, I'm managing all of that, which takes up so much of my time in March and April, and I really just need to set aside and say, look, I'm not going to be online between March and April because there's just so much going on. And if that wasn't enough, work sent me to the Game Developers Conference, which is the national conference for game developers in San Francisco this past weekend, or past week. I was gone for a whole week, so I didn't even get a spring break to kind of relax. I was working during spring break at the conference. So basically I was taking in everything at the conference. There were all these talks and sessions, and it was just a very, very busy time. And the event was really busy. It was my first time in San Francisco, other than a layover that I had one time in San Francisco, but my first time actually going outside the airport and experiencing San Francisco. Which, one of the benefits of that, I actually got to meet up with Bianca from Vintage on Tap. Both of our schedules were very busy, so we just got to get a quick bite to eat and hang out for a little bit. But that was one of my highlights of the trip. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Whole time in San Francisco, it was kind of dreary and rainy, and I wasn't really expecting that. I was expecting more warmer weather. The first few days when we got there, it was pretty nice, but then it just kind of got like a constant drizzle the rest of the week. But I did, like I said, get to meet Bianca, so that was a highlight. I actually did get a chance to go take a little cruise thing on the first day that was really nice, to the Golden Gate Bridge, which was also another highlight, because I was like, I'm gonna go to San Francisco, I gotta take pictures of the Golden Gate Bridge. So that was kind of fun, but overall it was more of a work trip, and it felt like a work trip. Like I was constantly in meetings, constantly in sessions, and so I feel kind of drained from all of that as well. Now, not to mention, because I knew I was going to San Francisco, I wanted to take a me-made wardrobe with me. So I also knew I was going to be gone a week, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't have to take a lot of stuff with me. And you may recall back at Christmas time, I think it was, I made a reversible wrap skirt from a McCall's pattern that was check on one side and then floral on another side. And I thought, you know what, these reversible wrap skirts make perfect sense. I want to make a couple more, so I could, basically what I ended up doing is I was taking 3 wrap skirts that equated to 6 wrap skirts because they were completely reversible. But because I'm me, I decided to make each one a different pattern because I wanted to try my hand at different variations of wrap skirts. So like, I was leaving on a Friday, so like Wednesday night and Thursday night, I like knocked out an entire little 1-week capsule wardrobe for San Francisco, and that like totally drained me even before the trip, which I know better than to do that, but I did it anyways. I don't know why. Another problem was I hadn't sewn for like since the day and night challenge because I'd been so busy at work, and I knew that I didn't have anything really deadliney at that point because spring break started on that Friday, and all I had planned after that was the conference. So I figured I have some time, I'm just gonna knock out this stuff. So I made those, and then I sort of mashed a pattern into this blouse and made a couple of blouses, and I want to share all that with you in a later video when I get a chance. But I have been sewing all that stuff in a mass rush, so I don't know if I would say that I enjoyed it as much as I should have, because I was such in a time crunch. Like, you have 2 days, or actually not even 2 days, you have 2 evenings to get a week's worth of clothes made. Not the best way to set things up, but that's how it ended up. So that was all the San Francisco trip, and like I said, right now I'm working on the expo, so that's taking up all my time, my computer simulation and gaming conference. Aside from that, I was also asked to present a talk on creativity at the Innovation Conference / workshop, which is taking place this Saturday. So this Saturday, I'm giving a talk at the university. So I'm doing that. So I'm hoping to have a video out this Sunday, but given the fact that I'm giving the talk on Saturday, who knows? So that's going on. And then way back in January, I had learned about the Vintage Sewing Adventure, which is taking place in Tulsa. So the Vintage Sewing Adventure is organized by Lisa and Laura Neal, who are known as Twin Needles. They have sort of a group, they have a website called Twin Needles. They are on Instagram, and basically they're these renowned sewists, and they wanted to start putting together some events sort of around the country that focus on sewing, and in this case vintage sewing. And they'd chosen their first location this year would be Tulsa, and I was ecstatic when I first learned about it because I don't really know a lot of sewists in the area. I'm not familiar with a lot of them, or sewing events in general. They don't happen, at least in my part of the world. So when I found out that there was going to be this sewing workshop 2-day event, especially vintage sewing, which of course is right up my alley, I was ecstatic, and so I bought tickets for it, not really thinking in my head that the event takes place April 6th and April 7th, which is 1 week before my event that I'm coordinating at the university. So I think I'll be in a little bit of panic mode because I have so much of the event planning stuff for me to do, but I still really want to go to this sewing event. So if you haven't heard of it, I'll put the description, I'll put the link in the description below about the Vintage Sewing Adventure. If you're in the area or within driving distance, I really encourage you guys to come. It's got a bunch of workshops. Like, some of the workshops that I'll be attending is like the millinery workshop where we're going to make a pillar box hat. There's the kimono drafting workshop. There are some workshops on like Native American beading, which I think is really, really cool. I'm excited to hear that. There's also going to be a talk about the Stretch and Sew pattern line, which was founded by Ann Pearson. Those patterns, they went from, I guess, the 1960s all the way up to like the early 80s or something. But I actually have a whole little mini collection of Ann Pearson Stretch and Sew patterns, and so I think it'll be a really cool to learn more about that. I got those at an antique store on a whim, actually, and when I found out they were doing a a talk on it at the sewing adventure. I was like, hey, I can learn more about these patterns that I got. So I'm kind of excited about that as well. So it's a whole bunch of fun stuff. If you are in the area but you can't make the actual conference, or I will say the tickets are a little pricey. I believe the 2-day event for the workshops and stuff is like $300. Granted, some of the workshops are giving you some supplies and stuff, so you know, it pays for itself. But if you can't make it, or you're finding the price kind of out of your price range, Saturday night there is sort of still a free sewing meetup after the full day of the workshop and conference. So again, I'll put all the information to the Vintage Sewing Adventure in the description below. There's kind of no real break for me, but I will say after May, I'm still be busy, but I won't be as busy. And so the fall semester always is kind of a little bit lighter weight than the spring semester, mainly because of coordinating the expo and everything that goes on with that. So if I'm not around during March and April, that is why. And that's why I wanted to kind of do a quick check-in to kind of let you know where I've been all this time and why haven't I been posting. Not that you've been like sitting there twiddling your thumbs waiting on me, but I still wanted to give you a quick update. In other sewing related news, while I was on the flight to San Francisco, I had discovered that there was a Nina Lee sale going on that last weekend. And if you're familiar with Nina Lee patterns, there are a lot of really great ones, and she hadn't really had a sale as far as I've noticed. I'd really had hoped that she was going to do a Black Friday sale during Thanksgiving, but I never saw one come up. But she had a 20% off like 2-year anniversary sale, and so I snatched up a bunch of Nina Lee patterns that weekend. So I got the Q dress, which was like #1 on my list. I've been wanting the Q dress. I have some cherry print fabric that I think I really want to make the Q dress out of. So that's like one of the first ones that I picked up. I picked up the Carnaby dress, I think it's called. It's just a basic shift dress, but it's got these like giant pockets on the front, and the way it's designed is that you can kind of do color blocking, and I thought that it would be a really simple make and really fun and sort of just a good runaround dress for summer. But also with the color blocking, I've got a lot of fabric. As you all know, I get my fabric secondhand, so I've got a lot of fabric that I think I have smaller pieces, like less than a yard, that I could use for that bottom half of the dress. I think that'll be a fun make, and I'm hoping for it to be a really easy make as well. So Kawaha Crafts released a brand new pattern, the maple dress, which I really like. I like the fact that it looks like a coat dress, which is very vintage. I know that the overall dress is kind of loose fitting and kind of baggy, but I think what I'm gonna, my plan in my head is to make it look a little bit more like the 1950s style coat dresses. So my idea is that I'm going to just bring it in at the waist and make it a little bit more snug than loose fitting. And I also feel like I'm going to raise, I think it's got a bit of a dropped waist. I'm going to raise the waist back up, and then just make the dress a little bit more fitted at the waist, and possibly make the skirt a little bit more flared. But I like the collar feature, and I like the double-breasted type buttons. Very, very coat dress. I really kind of want to make it for spring, because I think with sort of the 3/4 length and sort of a medium weight fabric, it would be good spring autumn. But it's hard to say if I'll get a chance. The main reason is that spring in Oklahoma is weird. Like today is supposed to be like 58. Yesterday was 71. So, you know, it's hard to say if we'll have spring weather, if we'll just jump into summer. So if I get around to making it, I'm hoping to wear it this spring. If not, I might end up putting it on the back burner for autumn. So we'll see where that will end up for me. So the last thing I purchased while I was waiting around at the airport for my flights this last weekend, a new book by Gertie from Charmed Patterns. She's got a new book out called The Jiffy Dress, and I'm really excited for this because the whole idea behind this book is that it's patterns that are, you know, few pattern pieces that you can make in a jiffy, and they are reminiscent of the vintage simplicity style jiffy patterns. Now, I do have all of Gertie books, so I couldn't resist getting another one. Granted, I've only ever made like one thing out of one of those books, but I'm hoping the fact that this is supposed to be jiffy is that they won't be as complicated as some of her other patterns. A lot of the other patterns, I haven't gone through a lot of the books, but I feel like a lot of times she's goes into a lot of boning and structure in her patterns, and while that's great and all, I don't really have the time to work on things like that. So I'm hoping that the Jiffy pattern book will be totally different and that I'll just be able to whip these up in no time. So I got that, and I actually purchased that through Charmed Patterns because you can get a signed copy through there, and it wasn't even really any more expensive than whether you'd bought it on Amazon. The book has not officially been released. I believe it debuts on April 9th. So whenever it gets released, I'm going to be getting that in the mail. I also got an exciting email the other day, is that my cannas are on the way. So if you don't know, I have enjoy gardening to a certain extent. I love my flowers and I love doing the gardening. I don't particularly like the outdoors, but I do like having a nice garden and setting up my flower beds. So in my front yard, I have all these beautiful flowers. I've got mums and daffodils, and all my daffodils are popping up right now, and tulips and hyacinths and sunflowers and all sorts of beautiful flowers. So it's kind of a spring autumn garden, so it pops up in spring and then it falls in through the autumn. So that's my front yard, and I worked on that all summer last year. So my backyard, we wanted to have sort of this backyard beach look. And so what the plan was is that along the back fence, we just are going to plant a variety of cannas. Now, cannas do really, really well in Oklahoma. In fact, one of the largest canna farms is in Oklahoma, Horn Canna Farm. I'll put the link in the description below. And this is where I purchased my canna bulbs because they are the largest canna farm in the U.S. and they ship all around the country. And what we love about cannas is a couple of things. One, they look very tropical, and with the backyard beach effect, that's what we're going for. We wanted to look kind of tropical. And two, they grow tall. Some of the cannas are supposed to grow up to 6 feet. And so the idea is having them along the back fence is kind of create some privacy screening and have these super tall cannas. Of course, it'll take a few years before they get that tall, but that's the goal. So I have got a variety of cannas, from reds to yellows to oranges to just the green foliage. They don't even actually produce a flower, but they are part of the canna family. And so all of these bulbs, I bought like a whole variety of them, are currently on the way being shipped to me. So I'm super excited and can't wait to plant those, which will actually be a while. I don't know when they're actually going to get here, and I don't know when I'll actually have time to plant them because, like I said, I'm busy. And but that is kind of where I'm at the moment. And so, like I said, this was kind of off the cuff, just a random ramblings and a few other stuff. I just wanted to jump in and share with you guys where I've been, what I've been up to, and why I've been kind of MIA here the last few weeks. I am still trying to post periodically on Instagram, and you might find me over on Facebook and some of the sewing groups. But yeah, I've just been so incredibly busy, it's not even funny. So that's what I've been up to. I'd love to hear in the comments below what you guys have been up to. What have you been sewing, so I can live vicariously through you and your sewing adventures? Because like I said, I haven't really had time to sew except that binge sewing 2 days before I left last week. But other than that, I haven't sewn for like the last 3 weeks now. So I'd love to hear in the comments what you guys have been up to. So that's it for me, and I hope to come back to you next week with maybe a video, but I don't expect one until after April 13th, because after April 13th I'll have a little bit more free time than I do now. So, with that said, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Akram's Ideas. Thanks for watching.
So, the sewing, or the word actually, was the of off the cuff and other stuff. Let me do that one more time.